Okay.
Thank you.
Aye.
We accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. You want to take this?
Yes.
Okay. Update from Tracy Sales regarding our Penny Corridor Management Plan and solid waste. So we're not going to discuss the solid waste management grant application yet. It's probably going to be spring apparently before we hear about that. And
Can I just add to that quick?
sure.
Merrimack River Watershed Council wrote a letter of support for that. So it got sent directly to Paige. So at least that's going forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Did we have discussion about possibly you writing a letter of support?
I did. We did. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, you know, for both things, actually. So, yeah, we can complete that letter. What else regarding that? Let's get rid of this thing too. So regarding the, Penny River Management Plan, we're also going to have to include North Country Council for the towns that aren't in, Lakes region. So that's the $2,000. So I think there's going to be like it's a $15,000 grant that we're getting from Tracy actually to do the management plan updates. And so Paige is proposing, I guess spoke with Tracy about this already too, is to bump out $2,000 from that. 1,500 going, $500 for data collection for North Country Council, and then $1,500 for implementation of towns in North Country Council's catchment area. Any questions?
So that's the idea of that is that out of that 15,000, some of the towns that it serves are in the North Country Council, and so this is to go to them.
Right,
These are the existing ones, not the ones that we're trying to woo.
right. Well, I mean, theoretically, if she engages with those towns through North Country Council, if it, that's fine too, I guess. But yeah, we're still trying to woo them.
You need to make a motion on that, or is that a decision?
I think it always has probably been made between Tracy and Paige, but I think it would be beneficial to have the committee move and rule on that. So
Have we actually received the grant yet? Has it been approved?
no, the deal is, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, and maybe because maybe I communicated the fact that it was coming out of wetlands money. It's actually monies that Tracy identified. So there was no application process because we didn't get into yet another application series. So what was your question?
Did Tracy actually send you, is it in writing that she's giving us this money?
I think probably Paige has, a copy from that. I never received anything from Tracy saying that.
So we officially did get the money.
Yeah, we've got the money, and it's just going to become available probably, later this spring.
Okay.
So acting until we have the money, should we vote on it?
Yeah, I think we should vote on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we should allow for
Pending
us to use
receipt of the money.
2,000 of, the money that we received from Tracy for North Country Council data acquisition and implementation.
We know what the total sum is.
15, yeah, it's 15,000.
Okay. Want me to move
Yeah, please.
I will move that of the approximately $15,000 that we're gonna be given for this project, that we allow 2,000 of that to be used for towns within the North Country Council, which 500 is for data collection, 1,500 for implementation.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, man.
Who did the second?
It was stereo.
Moved
It was simultaneous.
No, after you. No.
Okay.
and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. All righty.
So we won't know anything more until spring, and then we can start figuring out how we're gonna actually do all this work.
Yeah.
Okay. Just trying to get a timeline.
I gotta tell you, this is not gonna be my best meeting because I mean, I had everything kind of arranged and then I had a meeting myself at stupid Plymouth for most of the afternoon, so. But in any event, we're doing good so far. Permit applications. The first one was, shoreline permit application, and they sent it to me, and yet it was, oh crap. All right, I think A and D are the same.
That's what I was wondering.
Yep.
Why is East Branch of the Penny highlighted?
Well, because the fact that we don't, you know,
Really do anything with them?
yeah, it's not ours to investigate.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because there was one back in the day where they were going to be developing a park outside of that old, not tanning thing. What was
Paper
the
mill.
paper mill? Yeah. Which I don't think that ever went forward.
Yeah, Tracy brought that to our attention.
So here's another East Branch one though, and I don't think, does anyone want to look at it or do they care?
Deadline for comment.
No.
No, these are for episodes.
Well, actually, South Peak Road, but it's a house.
Oh, that's further down.
Yeah, it's on the other.
It's D.
It's on the other side of the river.
A and D are the same.
Oh,
Yeah.
A and D are the same.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm having trouble finding the agenda. Did you send it? Did Paige send it?
Yeah, I sent it.
What?
Like 4 days ago.
Let me,
You can either send it to you or you can cheat off of mine as well.
Yeah, if you could resend it, maybe. It's so much easier to stuff associated with the right notes. That's my secret.
I guess the South Peak Road must be, one of the big ski resort.
So even if we,
yeah,
woo-
it's right by the ski
even if
resort.
we wooed Lincoln, it would still be out of our jurisdiction, right?
It's not a river that
Yeah,
is covered by,
wouldn't matter.
yeah.
Yeah.
I believe like Lincoln would allow us to do that. But, all right, so.
Who, if I may ask, because who made the distinction as to where we stopped and?
So the Pemigewasset River is covered by a law that was passed, what, 20 years ago?
1991.
And, that covered like, rivers that I guess pass a certain criteria. And the East Branch was never included. And every once in a while, there's like a, concern about like the Baker River, get them under the same umbrella, but that's not happening. So East Branch is not covered.
Which is unfortunate considering the amount of development that's on it. There's greater impact coming off of the East Branch into the Pemmy than is actually coming down the West Branch.
Right.
All right.
It's 2 miles from the Pemmy. So if you, theoretically, if we looked at 2 miles out from the fork, we could get into half of Lincoln or Woodstock. And then that would fall into that. Is that ever been? Is that
Well, we got a quarter, yeah, we got a quarter mile.
Yeah.
okay? I was thinking a mile total, never mind, instead of 2, sorry. So technically, if we looked at, it could bring me up into Lincoln. Or North Woodstock, but
I'm having this, I saved the stupid document on my desktop. And so therefore I sent it when, patience.
Come from your email or Perla email.
it says Sunday.
I got it Sunday.
Who's the sender?
Bill.
Is it Bill Bolton's?
William Bolton.
William Bolton.
Or is it Perla?
Oh, is it him personally or?
It's,
I-
it's William, it's W
I
Bolton
just
at
see his
Live.
name and I opened it up.
The entire river except 10-mile segments through Lincoln and Woodstock is protected under the New Hampshire Rivers and Management Plan.
All right, theoretically, I sent it to you.
So. So,
So I'm basically, no one cares to review the plan for a house in East Branch, right? All right, another. Oops. More things to talk about after all this stuff, but, all right, so the, what the heck is B? I resign now.
You know, this has been, I was hoping the week ended last week, but it seems to keep going. I had one of those too.
Are you looking for the Eversource one?
I was, but it's kind of like, no probably reason to do that for the fact that it's just statutory permit by notification and, we go out and take a look, but
Why did they have to, or why did they retract their original plan? And what are they doing now? That's just,
Didn't DES request more information and they didn't provide it and then they retracted?
Yeah.
The
you have to
permit?
change the type of application as I remember.
I know more information was requested in Eversource. Didn't provide it and they withdrew the application.
and so did they ever provide you this information?
Well, for the beauty
But we here it is again.
They changed the application right,
Yeah,
to
whatever.
permit by notification. Or they don't have to do anything with, I don't know, I assume it would be. some paper, but
You remember basically, oh, we're gonna do this. Yeah.
I'm asking to doing it.
We're just telling you we're doing it, like this to be Curtis. Courteous.
Still subject to review, isn't it?
The DES has to act on it within 10 days. No abutters have to be notified.
If anybody wants to see what they're doing, here's what's going on. That the first page is the big picture is hill, and where they're putting up, and the crane is there, and there's a thing at the bottom. The poles are actually about 10 feet taller than the original, and it's interesting. On the other side there, that's still hill, the top one, and the bottom is actually right in front of my property, and they're going through some wetlands that are work frozen. Just like we thought they would do the best management plan, that they would do the best they could as long as the weather was cooperating. And if it thawed, you just lost everything in the wetlands.
they put mats down around that.
So that's when they had to have going first, and everything in the
They're not
wetlands.
mats, actual wood.
Oh, yeah.
All by
They call them timber mats now, so actually they're pads.
Hey, Myrtle.
We're so excited to find a priority made envelope. Did I win a sweep? No, it's from the Source Evidence Legal Department.
Ding, 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 ding.
So,
That's the opposite of it.
oh my God. Jeez. Yeah, I opened it right at the mail. Okay. So the crux is, because butter. The
Tell me
Pemmy
that. Turn Myrtle off.
originally
What's that?
1964.
Could you turn your, never mind. Oh, you're on. You're probably, you're, it's your other one. Nice. I just muted that one. Okay, hit it.
Over and across state-owned lands and public water, New Hampton, Bristol, Bridgewater, and Ashland. Subject crossings were not licensed when originally constructed. This affects, what did they say, 6 crossings? So if I choose, I could intervene and attend the public hearing down in Concord. So they're looking to get licensing across the Pemmy, which they failed to get in 1953 and 1964.
I think we should take down the line.
All 14 structures on at the state-owned land crossing span will be replaced with these new weathered steel poles. It also includes replacing all 12 structures at the 6 public water crossing spans that are subject of this petition.
It would be interesting to see if they are gonna change the height.
What I got in my first letter, they said the heights would increase by, it's almost like 10 feet, and there would be no tree cutting. But I found it interesting that now they're looking well after the fact to get permission to cross the Pemmy.
So do we get an opportunity to comment on that?
No, because you're not,
You're
not in the butter.
butter.
Remember back in Northern Pass, how Ashland, we had all those maps and you said, how did you get them? Because we were a town. This is not a town. So you were not afforded the same information.
What crossovers are we talking?
Yeah, but only abutters were notified. Yes, I thought the same thing. Once again, Pearl Act doesn't exist in their mind.
What's to the,
Should we call them on that? What are the dates?
I don't know if they're required,
the
to-
last
if they're
page.
only required to tell the butters, they may not be required to tell.
Yeah.
advisors.
Is that because it affects the butters?
Because I'm in a butter, I can, I have a set, I'm able to express my, intervene, yeah.
But
express
is
my-
it a right of way thing?
Yes,
That it's changing the right of way conditions to
No,
allow them to cross the river?
because the pole on my property, that span, that's part of the span that crosses the Pemmy into, from Ashland into Bridgewater.
Right.
And they didn't have permission to do that. Now they're seeking it.
But it's within 250 feet.
And then it would be my
I
neighbor,
would think that brings
because
us
he
in.
abuts the interstate and there's a pole at that end, and the one that's in the median is being, on 93 is being removed as it crosses that span.
Well, the condition of the shoreline and a lot of those crossovers is terrible.
We all know that, but this, once again, unless you're, they don't seem to identify this group as,
Well, maybe that's a way to get identified. Yeah. I mean, we're going through Northern Pass,
to me,
and it was a big damn deal, and they know it was. With that,
But, I just got this the end of last week. And I think the hearing is first week of February.
But it is actually New Hampton, Bristol, Bridgewater, and Ashland are all the crossing.
The crossings, but only abutters are notified.
Yep, but that doesn't, we'll notify them.
It doesn't pass the smell test.
Sure does, even with a mask on.
Yeah.
Now, is that notice related to the photo that's going around?
No,
And
no, no.
permit
Well,
by
no.
application?
No,
No, because they aren't, this is not a river, it's not a river cross. It's part of their upgrade.
But we're not-
Eventually, it will be, won't it?
I haven't got
As it
that.
moves north.
it might be
It's the
part of the
same.
application because it's replacing the poles.
Well, we've got three things on this agenda that all relate to Eversource.
The date of the
So-
notice is January
We
14th,
might have to clarify.
and I must have gotten it shortly. A couple days after that.
So it's actually, there's a
February 1st.
pre-hearing conference. February 1st, yeah, at 9 AM. And it's, oh no, you're actually supposed to send it.
Can I ask for clarification?
Sure.
It seems like, just based on what I can see in the agenda, that all of this is like replacing structures, but it's a little difficult to follow conversation right now. But I'm hearing that in addition to replacing structures that are currently in place, there's a component that includes building like river crossings that didn't previously exist. Is that my understanding?
Have permission to put the lines over the water when they installed the original poles in 1953 and 1964. So they're bringing this up to date.
Okay.
Well, the Penny was in a designated river back then.
And who's making that decision on what they're asking for?
Excuse me a minute. I apologize for coming in late, but which project is this?
It's not, that's a project that we weren't aware of.
Do they cite the permit number or the project? Is there anything on there that will give us some reference here?
It's C, okay. Yeah, it's right on the top. It's CR something.
The DES?
No. DOE, Department of Energy.
10225 petition for license.
So even though the putting in new structures, as we all know, to replace structure, they do, I should say, they impact the area where they put in the new structures.
Well,
And it's
They're
been,
going down the whole line saying, do we have permission? Do we have permission? Oh, we don't. And this is a case where they didn't, and they're following up,
Correct,
they're
yes,
following up
yeah.
on it.
That's a crossover.
the
Yeah.
crossover, yep.
can we do
It's-
So
something
in this
fine?
case, they didn't need permission to do this.
Yeah, okay.
Can we go back? and
But
do these
somebody
minutes?
must have gone through the files and said, oh, we
Do
don't have
one
permission
at a
to
time.
cross
We're
the
now,
water."
I mean,
We're talking
But I
about
think we ought to
permit apps.
somehow,
We're gonna
Well-
do them
comment.
one at a time.
now we're into other
Well, that's
business
why I
apparently.
brought-
never had permission.
But as you can
But
see,
Let
Yeah,
me
they
show
didn't
you
tackle the
some
first
of the
one.
results of what they did at these crossovers.
I'm
And a
guessing
second.
they would say, yes, it's DOE, it's not DES, Department of Energy.
Your 03780 on your agenda is the statute by permit notification.
So
For information purposes only, it says not subject to LAC review.
Yeah, but
it
that's,
was decided on January 14th to send this out in the first, you can send in your comments by
So-
February 1st, so this very
What I'm
truncated
saying
time
is
to-
item B, there's
Yeah.
nothing for us to
React to it.
review.
We've
correct.
got some good pictures.
And C for that matter, but
Crossovers. Yeah.
So we just have to go, yep, they're there.
So even if we do submit comment, it doesn't hold as much weight as you individually. So we could individually,
This was just
or as a group,
advisory, just
but,
advisory.
but have multiple letters sent in from folks from town, from these abutting towns or abutting landowners, but us as a group sending a letter.
Where it
doesn't
crosses
mean-
into Bridgewater, it's that, well, you know where it is, like the expanded travel operation, so there's
Yeah.
really no,
On the Bridgewater Bristol line, Able Road.
What would we say? Because in fact, it's kind of peculiar that they even decided to make it public. Because, no one did an investigation, I'm sure.
well,
So-
somebody did, they must have said, look.
Well, it was probably Eversource.
Internal.
Yeah. Is it just not, I'm not devil's advocate, but why would they release that? It was back in 59.
Obviously, somebody felt they needed to cover their butt.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're worried about
Hired a lawyer.
Yeah,
Petition to license to construct and maintain electric lines over and across state-owned land and public waters.
Maybe though, in doing these new poles that they're putting in, maybe they did need to submit some sort of a report to do these new poles and found they didn't have that permission.
Yeah.
I don't know that, I don't think Eversource would ever do anything that they thought they didn't have to do.
No.
yeah.
And this is less than a month to
Yeah,
react, so.
that's the other
So
thing.
if this is crossing state land, public land, would the state be testifying on the public's behalf at this hearing?
I can't imagine the state
Because it's gonna
going-
cross it crosses the highway.
I was thinking the highway or the river.
Well,
you know,
Yeah,
yes,
So there's somebody from the state would say, we foresee these consequences. and all
or
that.
they say, we have no problem.
So that's the person we maybe would be better off reaching out to individually then.
So, the structures aren't in the water or the wetland, they just cross it. I was like, yeah.
What item number we,
that's a non-item.
No, I
So
just
that's,
want
so
this
B,
'cause I know
B
at
and
least
C,
2 people here would have been interested in.
B and C, I did not capture, or I didn't bring any paperwork. It's just by notification.
Way up on
Yeah,
North
B and
Jackson
C's are
Road,
just
it's not anywhere near.
FYI, we're gonna do this.
So.
We don't have to tell
All
you.
right, and D,
We're telling you about it, but. who
D
cares?
is a repetition of A.
And then the
Is
next-
E the same as B and C?
No,
Yeah.
E is, well, it's interesting.
E is the third one.
It's more interesting than anything because we actually might be affected because on Alex Ray's property.
You didn't have a number for that one, did you?
No, there is no number. But where the hell is it?
So who knows what else goes on that we would be aware of? I brought it to your attention because it affects my property.
Okay, I did read.
There's 100.
All right, well, yeah, we're hitting one at a time, I think. So yeah, this is the reference, different
134?
number. What's that?
134.
134. This is New Hampshire DES, your own permit application, received 12022 Eversource Energy statutory permit by notification. And that actually is,
I don't know if it's the same one you're talking about.
it's E. E is no number because we just received it, or
Where is this structure?
Plymouth,
Yes, but where? And what kind of
Alex's
structure?
property. And
Is this the same one? Plymouth?
Yep.
00134.
okay, one's
That one we
119.
just got on
119.
122.
00134.
Yeah, 00134. It's access to and replacement of one utility structure, no tree clearing or widening of the road is proposed. Temporary wetlands impact is anticipated for timber matting and associated access. The effective date is of this complete notification is on the town of Plymouth. It's permit number 00134, 2022. Well,
And
emailed to us yesterday or today.
and that's not both of them, even that matter, but it's two of them that are two of the poles that are pretty much on Alex's property down by the or at least they needed access to that through,
Farmhouse?
what's that?
Or the farmhouse?
No, this isn't the
No.
No, no,
farmhouse.
oh,
No, it's just downtown.
oh, just down here.
Yeah.
No, this is-
Sewer plant.
Oh. okay.
Yeah.
Is this the state part?
Okay.
this is a better look at it. But I don't know. South Street.
Railroad, that's the railroad.
Yeah, no, so it's South Street. Victoria. I don't know where this is.
Actually, so it shows the existing gate of the Plymouth Village wastewater treatment plant with the poles behind it, and also the other, so, you know, it's no big deal, except for the fact that they're gonna have to have access to get there, which is through either Alex's property and or the Plymouth Water and Sewer.
Yeah.
Just point of interest, seems kind of funny.
It's the other side of what they're doing. So they've already done this on the Holderness side
Yeah,
where the
your property,
Henry Oxbow Park
Yep.
will hopefully happen. They've already done that. And I wondered why they hadn't carried it across the river. So this is
all in due time. Anyway, again, this is current by notification. We can go take a look if you'd like, but it's basically going to impact them obtaining access through someone's property, which,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think that's going to be a big issue. Maybe Alex will get something out of it. I don't know.
No,
Alex will be, so,
whoever sent them the easement in the first place is who got the money.
All right, so any questions? Any rise? So, F, and that is now, it's 2022-000163 NHDES wetlands permit. And that's a dredge and fill application. And Town of Campton over Bog Brook. And basically, it's just a point of interest because we can't, I mean, we can go take a look at it, but it is DOT. And I think it may even be complete.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was a lot of activity over there. Yeah, we couldn't see them accomplishing it. Yeah, we wondered.
well,
It's
and,
where it crosses the highway? Understood. Okay.
there's no picture unfortunately, but this just kind of came in yesterday.
Yeah.
And this is
Just
pretty much,
changing the poles like everything else.
No,
was
this is
a
DOT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
and if you care to take a look at what I have, it's
Yeah.
not
that'd be
much.
fun.
That wasn't a freeway bridge, was it?
No, it's the bridge on 3, where Bog comes under 3. And actually 93 is further downriver. No, further up,
Bog Creek
upward.
is on our edge of our property.
Yeah. It's to the other side.
Okay. Oh, so it goes under 93 and then down to 3.
Yeah.
And that's, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
We're doing 2 things on 3 last year.
Got it?
Thank you.
Tyson Morrow, discuss Merrimack River Watersheds Council collaboration with the U.S. Forest Service.
This is more of an update and clarification on what I had mentioned 2 months ago. So outside of my kind of volunteer role, other role with Merrimack River Watershed Council, this funding source is landscape scale restoration through the Forest Service. So it's looking to improve source water affecting the Merrimack River. And that expands out through the Merrimack River watershed, really targeting erosion, runoff, and full riparian buffer improvements. So it can be a suite of forestry practices through updated forest management plans. There's opportunities for that through UNH Cooperative Extension. We partner with. People can get updated or new management plans. There'll be outreach events put out by them as well. And then some of the more direct work I'm involved in is larger scale buffer improvements. So it can be a stretch of moving bittersweet, and then we plant a bunch of trees, and then we, pick and choose here and there and plant some, remove some invasives to increase buffers. And one of the things I'm kind of pushing on now is the city of Concord has expanded their buffers on city-owned property on like agriculture or timberland to 100 feet. So they own a bunch of fields. So behind, like across the street from the Everett Arena, there's the cornfield. They increased their buffer to 100 feet. So now the farmer who's planting corn there can't plant in that buffer. And they're doing that with a bunch of places by Blue Seal Green Plant, kind of down that way, down by Bow. There's a behind the wastewater treatment plant. So there's larger cities are implementing that. So trying to get ahead of the curve on this and speaking to some towns, private landowners, and help increase the buffers. So also improving buffers that are already there. So without going too deep into other projects, I've been speaking with Plymouth and Holderness Conservation Commissions. So Lisa on this, and looking to do some plantings. I don't know how detailed you want me to get into, but I guess I'll leave more interpretation up to you if you want. But the big thing is, off the top of my head, I know spots from spending time in the woods and knowing folks, and that's where we're getting a lot of progress. The next step is to do a lot of interstate scale ArcGIS mapping, New Hampshire and Massachusetts, and identifying areas that are at risk that could receive this work. But right now, it's all kind of word of mouth. It's, hey, I know this spot has, I could improve the buffer. I could, it's planting corn 20 feet from the edge. I'm trying to convince a farmer to maybe cut off a few rows and we plant trees. I originally said it was kind of focused from like this area south, but I do have some more leadway on possibly the Baker, expanding further north. The main goal of this is to protect source water and primarily for drinking water sources. So the closest one to us is Concord. That's a backup source. So if we start getting into Franconia Notch, planting trees to protect Concord drinking water, it's a little bit of a stretch. But some other areas around larger corridors, the PEMI work as well. Further south, we're even dealing with first order streams and smaller stuff, planting along driveways. But the goal is 9,000 to 10,000 trees between New Hampshire and Massachusetts across 2 years. So we're looking at 4,500 trees in New Hampshire. Right now, tentatively, I'm at just over 3,000 of kind of in somewhat agreements. And real bang for your buck is you either get the small scale park and have a lot of folks get involved, or hire a landscape company and plant 1,000 trees along a field.
Which Concord?
This Concord, New Hampshire, city of Concord.
And so why would they care about
There,
stuff south of them?
there's other drinking water sources like Lawrence, Lowell, Manchester, Nashua. They can pull from the Merrimack as emergency drinking water or primary drinking water sources and treating it. So the divide is a lot of the drinking water and water sources in this area come from groundwater or from a contained water body like a pond. But where people are pulling directly from the Merrimack, that's what this is trying to protect at the lower reaches of the watershed. If you could imagine drinking the Merrimack and Lawrence is what we're trying to protect up here before it creates further problems downstream.
Hey, I grew up drinking that water.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I've jumped around with it, so don't
But,
worry.
Right, I started to write down that the aim is to protect Concord's drinking water, and that's why
Sorry.
we can't go too far north, but that's not true.
Overall, drinking water, public drinking water sources, and the reason Concord jumps out, I mentioned here is that's the largest municipality closest to us here that pulls drinking water source from the Merrimack. We have, well water, some other reservoirs here and there, but they actually pump it. It's a kind of a backup right from the Merrimack. So I guess the overall view is if you imagine taking a cup of water out of the Merrimack here or in Concord or Lawrence or Lowell, we're doing our part here to help, improve water down there. But also we're working, this goes right through New Hampshire into Massachusetts as well, so.
There's a section, I don't know if this would apply. Would this be private lands or public lands or both?
Both.
Because there's a section in Bridgewater, and it's so minor that it's probably not worth mentioning, but it's right north of Jellystone Campground, right by the, what I call the one-eyed house. But anyway, it's a big drop off. There's a river road, there's a small berm, and then it drops. And I noticed coming home from work that everybody's been plowing their snow into the river.
Yeah.
And I thought, boy, that would be a great place to put up some trees or something to keep them from putting all that salt and oil and grease and everything else that's on the road right into the river. I mean, that's all they're doing. They're just moving their driveway right across the road into the river.
And that's where it gets tough with, ideally, you would think you plant a bunch of trees and shrubs right along the edge. But after speaking with Connecticut River Conservancy, in the largest sections of the Connecticut River, kind of like we dealing with big chunks of the Merrimack, they won't plant within 50 feet of the bank.
Okay.
Because by the time that tree anchors its roots in enough that it's going to slow down erosion or make a difference, that bank's going to be eroded to there.
Okay.
That's all those big bluffs and stuff. Around here, talking to Lisa, we're looking at 25 feet.
Yeah.
20, and so 25 feet out.
So what they need is a couple of guardrails to.
Well, that's even a swale, a drainage, a swale and a settling pit. And that's unfortunately not funded as part of this, but the funding does allow a lot of good opportunities for folks that they don't have to deal with NRCS stuff where they're dealing with how much do you make? Or you have to follow up and take the tax assessed value and all. This is literally like you show up with volunteers and plant trees, pull bittersweet down.
Right.
It's that kind of easy scale. But in situations like that, those are things to keep an eye on because within my organization, there's other funding sources that could work on things like that, where they could do a larger scale.
Because I know the landowners would be up in arms if anybody tampered with their ability to just shove it into the river, but.
That could be one where it's private
it's-
land, where we have funding from.
But it's a
NRCS.
state road, so it's state.
Yeah, like
Burn.
right away, put a swale, that's another, believe me, I can put you in touch with somebody I work with that's literally dealing with, we're dealing with dam removal, we're dealing with invasive control, but those are private lands. Mine's public and private, but it's literally like
Right.
source water, trees, bittersweet, like that scope versus like 2-3 year excavation stuff, so.
Yeah. Anyway,
But this is, so if you have spots, I'm finding a lot of these, you think of that, like, where can I plant? So that would be a good one. Well, I think we should be in touch regardless, because even if we can get 50 trees in, hey, it might help.
I don't even know if you could without, they'd probably all die of road salt.
So, that's where some of these discussions happen. Dealing with dairy farms like Pennacook and Bosco in that area.
Right.
I grew up in that area. I was in 4-H with a lot of these guys that now run their family's dairy farms, so.
Yeah.
But these are the ones that I think we can, it saves you the extra back work, of permits and everything. We're gonna hopefully be blanket exempt from things. Because we're doing positive work, we're not repairing.
What about John Martin's land? He's the forester in Bridgewater that's planning to, or has got a permit to spread all that crap all over the.
Knotweed and other
poison.
invasives.
Invasives, to get rid of the invasives, get rid of the,
That could be in replacement of that stuff removed. This
Yeah.
could be like a separate thing where you go back in and
because,
revegetate.
right, exactly. He would be a great target because he owns a huge amount of property in Bridgewater and he's a forester, so he's probably spreading the word that this is the way to do it. I know he is, because my cousins want to do it on our farm. They'd rather use Roundup than pull the weeds.
This could be one that we could go back in and revegetate it.
Yeah,
To be an example, so.
yeah, and so, my cousins who own land in Bridgewater want to do it, want to use Roundup like crazy, and if they don't want to take the time to pull anything. They have started to pull, but they'd rather use Roundup, and if we could
Yeah.
figure out a way to convince them otherwise,
So
God bless.
there's the one, I hate to say it, kind of the gray area. Once you start getting into giant patches of knotweed, then it goes into a volunteer pulling event to a pesticide applicator coming in. And that's where this grant kind of draws the line of opportunities. We can hire a crew to go in and plant 2,000 trees along a field for a couple weeks. But the money pools
Mhm.
to implement these certain practices don't expand to like, we can spray a whole patch of knotweed or pull a whole patch of knotweed.
Mhm.
But we can go through a stretch and go, let's pull all this stuff and then go back in, replant it, and then we're gonna come in and water it and stuff.
Mhm.
So the real kicker is spring and fall, we're not planting anything in the summer. So I have, people have any thoughts, interest, I'm going out and I'm taking inventory of tree species that are there. So I can kind of write a prescription for quantity, species, make GIS maps, give it to the landowner. This is what we're looking at. So I can do all that behind the scenes as well, so.
Wow. It's great.
Well, I've got two neighbors that could probably use your help if you're interested.
Awesome. And I think Katra, you mentioned you had some thoughts on a site.
No, I just mentioned it to the Thorn Conservation Commission, and some of the members had ideas of potential sites, but I think they were all private property sites, and so I'm not quite sure how expansive they'll be. I just realized though, I don't think I sent your work email along to them, so I'm gonna do that right now.
Yeah, so the small sites work as well, but when you get to the scale of thousands in the next couple summers, a park with small planting is beneficial for education. But going to a private landowner and planting 50 trees at their house is a little off route with this. So just trying to keep that in mind as well, but it's all beneficial stuff, so.
Hey Tyson, what
Yes.
would be the minimum amount of land? I mean, just generally, what would be the minimum amount of land that this makes sense for a group to go in and do it?
From my understanding, at the beginning of the grant, it's very restrictive, and at the end of the grant, it's like, hey, we're gonna get some trees in the ground, let's go anywhere. So, at this stage, I'm open to any ideas. It's gotta be done by May 2024, but theoretically, planting can't be done. You're not gonna be planting a week before the permit. I mean, the grant expires, so we have this coming season and then next coming season. So, yeah, pass things along and I'd be happy to look at it. If you can, that'd be great.
Is there anyone here from Campton?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, because do you have any land that it makes sense for this?
Not,
All the town land pretty forested?
not that is not privately owned.
Well, it's looking to be public or private. I'm doing, I think, 5 parks, in the city of Concord, improving buffers on all of those. If they've set aside a buffer, it's revegetating, we're gonna go in and speed it up and plant a bunch of trees. So, it's both sides,
Yeah.
but we also don't wanna go in and just be the, hey, we're gonna pay for the city to do it. It's, I don't know, it's a balance.
yeah, I'm not aware of anything that they have.
Well, there's a stretch it's not actually right on the Pemmy, it's on one of the feeders into,
Even that works, yeah.
but it's privately owned, it's going down to. Bud Beebe River, I think.
That's
That-
what I was thinking of that.
Yeah, that big
Are
stretch.
you talking about
Yeah.
near the old BB?
The mills.
Oh.
Yep, the mills,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think.
There's a
that
big,
could
there's a
be-
big, they used to actively farm it. There's a big pasture in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I know
And
exactly what
that
you mean.
part, there's part of it that's on the Pemmy, but most of it, some of that I think is on the cusp of the MAD, and then part of it picks up on the BB, so.
And that's perfectly within that. And even with some landowners, I'm working with one down near Warner, we're going like 15 feet, that's it. Because they don't want to lose a bunch of hay crop. But we're gonna go in with live stakes and put sprouted alders and willows right into the bank. So it's not gonna encroach on their field, but it's gonna armor that bank top right there. Some of these other spots, you can do it as well, where it doesn't have to be, lose 100 feet of field. Any improvement is better than nothing, so.
Okay.
But you said you're saying 25 feet away from the river.
So on larger sections, like here, where you have an eroding bluff, by the time a seedling this big roots enough to
Yeah.
hold that banking in, that 25 feet is gonna be washed away. So it's kind of a gray area where,
Okay, so what's the minimum? Is there a minimum?
no, some of these small feeder streams, I'll plant them right up against the edge, right at the high water mark and. Yeah,
Just
Um,
depends-
Other
Well-
than right along the riverbanks, what tree species are you looking to plant? Or is it gonna be based on what's already there?
it's based on what's there, but it's in the smaller proximity of what's there. I followed up on some plantings that were done about 5, 6 years ago. And the folks looked across the river and saw giant silver maples, but they were looking from the top of the sandy bluff. And so they planted silver maples and 0% lived, because I went back and checked, but the white pine grew like crazy. So I'm going and looking in that immediate vicinity, what's there, because it's obviously what's surviving, but also the ability for shrubs, and some other woody species other than just tree seedlings, so.
Myrtle, that's the stretch east and west branches, banks of the Pemmy from Crossover Bridge south. There are a bunch of private properties that have expanses of land on the river. And then I know that, well, part of the Benton campground comes down to the river on the east side, as does the horse farm. And
Okay.
then above them is, I don't know if that's also owned by the Benton family. There's a sand pit that where you cross over by where the town offices and Thornton, cross over
Right,
bridge
yep,
that
yep.
feeds to 175.
Yeah.
On both sides of the river, there are a number of properties that have.
So,
River.
what, I know where the Benton campground is. I can reach out to Benton about that. You were saying it was the crossover, where else?
Well, above them, there's a horse, and then beyond that, there's additional land before you hit the crossover road. I just don't know who owns that property. And then there's a number of properties on the west branch,
Okay,
west bank of the Pemmy. That,
So- so Tyson, I think what we can do for the Thornton Conservation Commission is just try to do some kind of a survey for you.
Yeah, that would be
And
awesome.
look and see how much acreage it is and if it looks like could use, more protection along the rivers and, I think we'll start with that. And then maybe you can help us reach out to the landowners.
Yep, for sure. That would be great.
Because there are some larger properties around there.
Okay, and that's some of those that could fall into a free or an updated forest management plan through UNH Cooperative Extension. Also, I can go in and ArcGIS and map a site, just some aerial photo and say, this landowner wants to add 25 feet. I can draw that out, figure out how many stems per acre, which is recommended for this grant. So we'd say,
Okay.
area, we plant 150 trees. So that's all done from behind the scenes.
I don't know in Campton on what is the west side of the river, just above 49.
Yeah.
And below it, Pike Industries owns Campton Sand and Gravel. It's 200 acres there. I don't know how much of that covers
I know
the
exactly what you
shoreline.
do.
I mean, it's.
I was wondering too, Neil, about
The
RMI. Is it
cement
any
company
land
occupies a
near
corner of
RMI
that,
that needs to be protected
but
from the potential seepage of that sludge leaking in the.
Well, some of the old applications of this grant were done, Manchester Sand and Gravel, which is in Concord, it's in Pembroke, it's in Manchester, like all, so we've done those. So that's another possibility as well.
so that's the only other large
Big track.
track stream that I am aware of.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
That's just a thought. I don't know, it may be all wooded and that doesn't really matter, but if there was any kind of bare area there that would need buffering up.
What's the name of that book that goes down?
Yeah, the little brook.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the old name?
No, it's got a name.
Starts with an H, I think.
I thought it
Oh,
was
yeah.
like Dalton or something like that. But,
But for folks that have other sites in mind, feel free to just reach out to me
Jellystone.
and
Silverstone's Heartland.
And some of these other ones there, I mean, it can be aesthetic stuff too,
Yeah.
like along a golf course, along a park. It doesn't have to be just planting a million seedlings. We can plant species how you want. And offer these caging behind, around them, protect from beavers, from lawnmowers, like all sorts of stuff, so.
Sheesh.
What about steep slope?
So that's where I'm looking at live stakes. If it's a sandy eroding slope, I'm not, it's kind of a lose-lose at this point. That's where we're stepping back and planting further. But we have some of these vegetated slopes that are steep. We're gonna go in live stakes and get some propagated stems and stick them in the bank. And
Like willow?
willow and alder and stuff, yep.
I'm thinking of that area across from Mike Ahern's.
Yeah.
Condos.
Well, there's the thing up in
And
Thornton.
further upstream is golf course.
Ahern
that's
just
true,
did a
too.
reinforcement of their bank.
So that, exactly, we looked across the river and saw the condos where,
Yeah.
so that could
That's
be,
where the energy is gonna be deflected.
you
to the
could,
bank.
you could cut a little bit of the lawn back. Plant along the lawn some nice silver maples and cage them, so those will take, in 20 years, those will be, armoring that bank, but also right along the shore. Put in a bunch of alders that can handle the ice, smashing them and breaking them off.
I could see too, though, that if you put tall enough species there, those condo owners would rather lose their bank than
Oh,
lose
it's
their.
That's-
100
that's true.
feet from the river to where those condos are up on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's
plateau.
pretty
So and that's
steep,
where I'm
so-
trying to work with landowners. Yeah, we'd rather get something. So if we get a plant alders 20 feet wide, that's gonna handle ice. You
Right.
can still mow your lawn right here. That's,
Yeah.
so be it. Because they won't grow too high to block your view or.
Right.
Hey, Tyson,
Yes.
another place I can reach out to is Owl's Nest. And
Thank you. That's very willing.
doesn't hurt to try. And the other thing is, if you could send us because what I want to do is go to our Board of Selectmen and just talk to them about it. And Brad Benton is a Board of Selectmen member. So I can tap into him there and kind of see his perspective on it. But I was thinking if you could give me like a one-page summary about this, like with whatever your organization letterhead, so that I can present that to them and they'll understand that this isn't a pipe dream. This is something where they can get something that will give them good press, benefit the environment, and really isn't going to cost them anything.
And if you CC us,
Awesome.
we can also present it to
I would
the
just send
Campton
it to everybody,
Conservation
'cause-
Commission,
Thank you.
and they'll run with it.
Well, this is the next step is I'm looking at Warner. Getting 5 or 6 conservation commission reps all in one meeting with town DPW, that scale, trying to do that at different levels. So definitely looking at this as well. So yeah, I'll be able to get on that.
I keep on thinking about Concord, the 100 feet setback now at that, corn farm. That's the stinkiest place in the springtime.
So ironically,
100
I know the family that
Oh, yeah?
plants the corn there.
Well, 100 feet is not gonna cut it.
100 feet. So you have behind, for example, the wastewater treatment plant. Biosolids are spread on the field for cow corn.
Yeah.
The treated wastewater goes into the Merrimack right there. So you have all that.
Yeah.
Then behind, across from Everett Arena, you have the cornfield, which is manure, cow manure spread on it.
Is it just manure? I
Just
thought it was-
manure.
Okay,
But what's right above the hill? The capped landfill.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's all just,
Yep.
I mean, it's literally right, the banking right above it is the old capped landfill.
Huh.
If you look behind that cornfield, there's a patch of woods. The next piece behind that is the capped landfill and it's the old snow dump. It's Merrill or Terrell Park, whatever one of those
yeah, it's
there.
Rail Park.
So
yeah.
it's all, I don't know. And so it's nice to be able to tell the guy, please don't cut the trees down. We're gonna plant when you cut your corn and, but try it. So
Yeah.
Is it fodder corn or is it?
it's cow corn.
It
It's not
is
sweet
fodder corn,
yeah.
so we're not digesting all
No.
this. We're not getting.
Don't do
Not
cow.
directly.
Yeah.
Then the milk's coming from Canterbury going to Hood, the
Yeah.
plant and whatever around here, so.
So
We're not drinking Hood.
we're getting our chemicals diluted.
Get it through the grapevine, yeah.
That
So,
sounds charming.
and if any, and this is the time for me to kind of look at this stuff, because what I'm told is tree orders need to be done like now, which is fine, I can wait for some of these smaller sites, but these, there's 2,000 to 3,000 tree orders I'm gonna be putting in the next couple weeks, so,
Right.
thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Hey, Tyson, so you'll get us that in the next week or so? A letter?
Not that early, sorry. Are you talking like a letter or like a full on info thing?
No, just a letter.
I can totally do that then, yes.
Yeah, okay. All
The
right.
final presentation style side of like PDF, PowerPoint, that stuff's the next.
Yeah,
step.
no, we wouldn't want that. We just need a one-page summary.
I can definitely do that then.
Do you want us, how are you doing with the campgrounds? Do you want us to approach them or are you going?
What if I should call somebody that doesn't know us to go talk to them?
That might be better. Yeah.
Well, they're owned by,
It's a new owner, correct?
yes,
Yeah.
it's something resorts now.
Yeah.
It's not Jellystone.
It's called Adventure Campground.
That's-
Yeah, I think they're out of.
Or they probably have a local person
I
that is
think
the
they're out of
manager that lives
Florida.
around here.
Yeah.
Well, he's not. He's actually, he's the guy who's managing it. Is a guy from Georgia too, or Florida.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Florida, right?
And the problem they face is that, because I know of an example where somebody said, screw the campground, I'm just gonna build my own boat ramp, and ripped out a bunch of land,
Oh,
the
gosh,
embankment and
yeah.
build his own boat ramp.
Yep.
Without asking permission from anybody, so, you know, yes, God bless if you can plant there, but I bet you a certain number of the owners
Yeah.
of campsites there will immediately rip them out.
And it gets to the case of if the Forest Service wants to come check some sites, which they do, I bring them to certain sites. This is a great example. But some of these ones that, if it comes with the asterisk already, like, you know, take note of it, we think about it, but it might take some of the
Less
easy
priority.
fruit first,
Yeah.
yeah. We know that might not cut it down. So,
Anyway,
but that's helpful. too. That's a great list. Thank you.
Very good. Just to follow up with New Hampton Municipal Landfill. Dave Katz responded, you know, and I was wondering if why he was quoted in the minutes. Well, it's because you communicated with Max and Barry. So there was a final thing from DES as far as the closure. And they're requesting a revised closure plan, must be prepared. Also waste identification, all the types of waste received. Closure cost estimate. So they're still working on it. It's not like a done deal.
Was somebody looking into whether or not they were gonna test the water?
It didn't say in this,
Paige was gonna
That's
inquire
right. That's what it was.
and get back to it.
and at least the comments went to DES too, from what you made, as far as testing the water. But that's-
It's still got some hurdles.
Yeah.
To get over.
Yep. Not really organized, so well.
I don't know, I like the circular waste basket down.
That's my
Filing system.
it's my select board meetings too.
Take care of that.
Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, you should see me, you know, doing a select board meeting. Everything goes on the floor. All right, so regarding the legislative tracking sheet, did I forward the actual email from actually it was Nissa Marks?
Yes,
Okay, good. So you ought to take a look at, you know, what's going on as far as the different bills. I think I explained before that DES has their own spin on what the bills should, or what they should do and who should support them and who shouldn't. And that may not necessarily be what, you know, we would appreciate, but it does kind of pay to take a look at what's going on. Specifically, I was kind of tracking the remote meetings under the right to know law. And I still want it to kind of like, you know, parrot reality, where it'd be kind of nice to have, you know, continue with the Zoom meetings, because, you know, it's kind of ludicrous to expect that you have to have a quorum at the site, especially when our meeting gets bigger and bigger as far as like people, which is kind of nice, but then you have to, you know, quorum is like, you know, still the same, because we haven't changed that yet. It's still 4 towns.
4 towns
Um,
represented.
yeah, 6 people, whatever, some, you know, stupid little combination thing that it'd be kind of nice to just go with like something that's actually recognized for 91A meetings. But, and there was a hearing today, I couldn't go to it, but I'd like to see what's going on with that.
It was a bill submitted to create an advisory committee for cyanobacteria.
Yeah,
So New Hampshire
and
Lakes.
rivers and lakes.
Rivers and Lakes,
Yep.
correct. New Hampshire Lakes submitted a letter in support, and Merrimack River Watershed Council that provided support, and like 10 other watershed groups also. It was a pretty heavily weighted, and I haven't heard any results from that yet, but
Like bills like that, they don't, I mean, there's a lot of wacky crap going on down in the state house right now.
Like that secession thing?
But, bills like that,
Remember you're being taped.
anyone could get behind that,
yeah.
so as
That
long
was
as,
just whoever they asked. I mean, pretty much they got everybody they asked to sign on it. If they needed 50 signatures, they could ask for more, but it's just who's gonna be on it.
yeah.
And you kind of know who's gonna be the players put on that panel, so.
In any event, it's kind of an interesting thing going on now. Other items. Well, first of all, let's just pass it. We've been meeting on this today, actually, in Plymouth. And I'm not certain exactly if there's anything to concern ourselves with. But we're going to be redoing the stormwater and separating the stormwater from the sewage, and also update some of the water lines in Plymouth, South Main Street. And yeah, but we're also going to be focused on Railroad Square and the road that doesn't exist yet, that ultimately might be like a South Main Street, whatever it is. No, actually it's West Main Street, East Main Street.
What?
It's not there yet.
It could be
So-
anywhere.
It's gonna like parallel Route 3 as it
Yeah.
goes through Plymouth, because it's like a safety issue. It'd be kind of
Right.
nice to have a road that goes between Main Street and the railroad.
It's like making that thing by the skate park go through, but
Yeah.
making it a legal road.
Yeah, so, but this picture, which I'm gonna pass around, includes an area that's got like red dots, or red dashes. And right in the middle of the thing called Railroad Square. And it's going to be part of a, okay, initially we were looking at different like rain garden solutions for the storm water, how to deal with it. And that's unrealistic. In fact, when speaking with like DES and Tracy and such, all towns just like void stormwater into rivers. Okay, well, so we're going to be doing the same. Well, actually, we do the same, and yet this, this solution. Well, it's not like the extreme solution, but the red dashes actually are a piece of property that Alex owns, and it includes like an area that's going to be like a small pond. They're going to dig down, to have like a 2-foot pond or something like in the center of an area that we're going to be basically we're not going to put up any fences or anything like that, but it's going to be like designated as an area where that pond, when we're going to have like the water drain into that pond, and then that's going to rise, and we'll have like an overflow detention area, and then if it reaches a certain level, then it goes down to the area by the railroad bridge south of town and infiltrates into the river ultimately.
Town's gonna buy the land from Alex.
No, he's gonna be donating it.
Oh, nice.
Well, we're still working that out.
Oh, donating it for a fee, yeah.
Well, no, he's,
Right on.
I mean,
Yeah.
thankfully, he loves Plymouth.
Right.
And, I think a lot of business owners don't really kind of appreciate the really nice attention, but, because they complain about the fact that Alex is buying up all the businesses,
Right.
but regardless, as a Plymouth taxpayer, I appreciate that.
So like a sedimentation pond.
Yep.
So, yeah, catchment pond,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Bill, can you can you email out that map so we can, after the fact, take a look at it for those who aren't there?
Do you have
Mm,
a electric?
Can you
version?
scan it?
I
Send
may
it
have.
out?
Yep.
See what you can do.
It's
Thanks.
still kind of,
In the works.
yeah, in the works.
Fledgling.
Yeah, so I don't want it to get out necessarily, but, huh?
Okay, well, whenever it makes sense. I mean, maybe it's the next meeting. I'll see it.
Yeah, we're basically nailing down what might be part of, the town and also working with Alex on the final deal.
Did the town clear all that sumac off of that? Or did Alex?
Well,
do it?
Sumac is fine, but
No, I
I
just
don't,
wondered who did all the clearing.
I don't know.
That
It
whole
could-
bank was loaded and now it's empty.
Sumac
I
or
thought it was sumac. but yeah,
they also
knotweed.
had, knotweed,
Yeah.
that DOT was like
Okay.
trying to
Anyway,
knock
that whole
out. but-
bank was covered with brush and then one day I drove by and it was all empty.
Well, there's still like tons of knotweed down there,
Was it-
but yeah.
So
So-
are you looking for our input on the idea of the stormwater cost or?
Well, the weird thing is, so I'm sitting there, talking with, an engineer on, who are going to be like, tasked to do all this design work for the road thing. I'm thinking, okay, well, now this could just be like statutory permit by notification because we're a municipality. But, we're looking at constructing this pond, diverting water for, storm water. And the river, you can barely see it, in the right-hand corner. So the river's like right there. But ultimately, it's gonna be better than what's currently, being done. But still, it's like, we're not gonna be invited to take a look at this, and I imagine that DES is probably gonna be like, okay, you're a municipality, it's better than usual. I don't know, I was just like trying to wear, or not wear two hats,
Mhm.
but
Well, so is this Plymouth Village Water and Sewer that would be doing the work?
no, this is like I was thinking big ass grant that everyone, there's like several grants that are being
Make
like
sure you get
utilized.
that down.
That's fine.
Wacky concrete. I got this.
And
Those are the best
it's
kinds.
basically no, it's more than that. No, we're doing 2 million, no, 1.4 for the town. And then it's theoretically, it's like, 3 million or something like that for water and sewer.
Hmm.
And it's going to correct all the, the stormwater that's now being treated.
You're gonna have to pave that dirt road down by the skate park.
That's ultimately probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Yep. But there's also property issues. It's not just Alex's property. It's
Right, I was
like
gonna say this right away.
several feet of like the car place, and, it's just a real mishmash of,
I've seen the map of all the different homes.
yeah.
That's because we haven't had a century flood that has just sort of scoured all that out and reset the map. But it can happen.
Yeah, well,
Careful.
they kept on talking at the meeting, I'm like, well, geez, gotta be careful, where's the floodplain here? And I'm thinking, it's all floodplain, like,
Yeah,
Clean out time.
yeah, so,
Well, you see the foundations down there where they had pretty large buildings.
Yeah.
At one time.
they also, I was concerned about like hazardous waste too. And I was assured that there's no hazardous waste there. And I don't know, I kind of recall it kind of being a dumping ground back there.
and I have a swampland in Florida. I think.
Anyway, it was kind of interesting. We're not gonna be involved in it, but it's gonna be another one of those permit notifications. So
Hmm.
actually, they're thinking that they can get away, out of every permit.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can't see DES letting this slip by without serious review,
Yeah.
so.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, that was kind of like interesting. The other thing is, Paige, I chatted with her today, and we're gonna meet, I think, next Wednesday, at 9 o'clock, just for touching base with things. And I wanted to, when we're on the phone, today, she suggested a good thing might be just to have a meeting and see what might be her role in Perlac. And we kind of like had a different, I guess, relationship with Dave Jeffers. Dave was probably extremely active initially, but then I think it just became like just kind of like he was probably like not disinterested, but just kind of like passive about I think the whole thing. And I'm not saying that because I filled the void, but I think I was probably more active, that he felt that, okay, I'll just leave you guys alone. And they stopped coming to meetings but regardless, he got repositioned to transportation. So the Lakes Region Planning Commission is also collaborating with it, North Country Council on RCC, which is the transportation group. So Paige is, I just wants to basically find out what we expect of her to do. And obviously she's young, she's energetic. We could probably task her with just about anything. And, but the flip side is we'll be paying for it too.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what kind of like held, in fact, I think I had a discussion about like Dave's value. And, his value was like making applications. Well, he was involved in the initial, management plan, very much so. But then rather unsuccessful in trying to seek funds to, have it updated. We've been trying to do that for the past 3 years. So, and I know Paige has a lot of different expertise than Dave has. So any discussion on what we might expect from Paige that we either weren't getting from Dave or?
Grant writing comes to mind.
Yeah.
She's already-
That's the biggest thing is,
she's
she
already
seemed to
been-
know,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's been our
Well-
contact with Deke for this extra money.
Yep.
But one of the differences, we already have a management plan. We don't need to start from scratch. We just need to update it. And I would,
We can't do that now anyway. We don't have the money. It's just basically tweaks.
okay, so that's not on the table right now.
No,
So this grant writing, what would that be going
the update
funds
was
for?
not a full rewrite, right, which is what we've been pursuing.
So we will do an update with the 15,000. Right?
Yeah.
So my question is, if she's going to be writing grants, what are we proposing to use that for?
For her to survive.
Okay,
Because one of the things that
It's out there.
they always, Lakes Region Planning Commission always says that they're, oh crap. I forgot to bring the stupid, what, I've got it someplace. I asked for an update on finances because I got an end of the year report. And we have that gentleman from Lakes Region Planning, what's his name? I don't know, apparently he did one for her. She sent it out.
We did the- We have the annual report.
What's that?
Are we in the hole? Are we
I think we're always in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some annual report thing sent, wasn't there?
Right here, if you want to read it.
Yeah, but
Town
I
report
don't
thing?
think it does the
Or different one?
finances.
No,
Right.
no,
Really?
there's also like an accounting that we have
Right,
done
that's what
by,
he's talking about, is the
yeah.
dollars and cents.
Seen that one.
They write us off in the end.
Were there
Well,
actually-
yeah, well, I mean, we're worth it. No offense. I mean, it's not like I'm glorifying this Perlac, but it's worth them to take a loss, if indeed they are taking a loss, to have us to brag about too. I mean, everyone's got like a, or a lack,
I agree.
but we pretty much like, they've always been involved, even though like we were like with North Country Council, we got ourselves with Lakes Region Planning Commission. I think this was kind of like a plum for them, and they also kind of like need losses to offset, other gains. I mean, I think they do some interesting,
Creative accounting?
yeah.
Sounds like a good role. Contribute to their losses.
Is it the Lakes Region Planning Commission that is losing money or DES is losing money?
LRPC.
But how are they losing money?
Well,
Just because
that's,
of Dave's time or Peggy's time?
well, theoretically, Dave's time, yeah. And, you know, he used to be coming in here like, you know, every other meeting or something like that. And that's what Paige is gonna be doing from now on too. I'm still thinking that we have the ability to reach out to her, and also she lives in Campton, so, I mean, she's pretty damn accessible too. And I don't know how many people actually go into Meredith anymore.
I live there now.
Well, you live there, but.
Every day.
And my 2 cents, I mean, I'll just say this, I had a class with Paige. I'm probably 5 years older than her. And up until this meeting, I've never brought up work stuff. This has been on volunteer because I'm very interested. So to think of our similar career paths, similar ballparks of knowledge. Hate to say it like for free or for cost, but I know similar situations like she's in. She's got to write a grant to stay funded. So if she writes a grant and it funds her coming to, you know, every other meeting, it keeps her other so many hours a month paid
Right.
and gives us that feedback.
Yeah.
So I think if it's the grant writing, what do we need a grant for? Do we need one right now? It's in reality, having that chair in the room filled. When we do need her, she's here, the larger stuff. Because I'm not in the position to go write grants on the side, you know, in a volunteer role. So I think having that filled enough that even if she does write a grant, if it pays for her to come every other month, that's keeps her on board.
So this bill that's out there about the upland invasive species management coordinator that would supposedly be in each town, I'm guessing it's more likely to be these planning regions.
I did hear
rather than
about that, yeah.
individual towns. So that might be something that would end up falling in her lap, and then that would be a huge boon to us.
Mapping.
If she could tap
invasives,
into
yeah.
funding for Japanese knotweed.
Just, and yeah, so I think that's, I think in the short term, it could be something as simple as a moose plate grant that funds her to spend 2 hours every, you know, couple months here, plus some extra time in the back end. And it's an addition, I think that's worth it. And then when another big grant comes up, I think it's, you're buying into more than just the dollars and cents now. She's invested, and I'm like, at this age, she's gonna be invested in the area in the longer term, and I think you get more out of it in that end versus, you know, the smaller negatives at this point, but.
No, I think she's phenomenal. I think the question is we let her go as long as they're willing to take the loss.
Yeah.
You know, we know that we can only pay LRPC X amount. If she wants to work beyond that and have LRC, PRC, or whatever they're, take the hit, then that's fine, but we just upfront with her and say, this is what we can raise by contacting the towns.
I
But
think we're gonna have to raise our price
Yeah, I
to
was
the
gonna
town.
say that.
Well, LRPC is already saying that,
yeah,
so.
oh, that's, yeah, definitely. And, but I think she's great. I think she's got a lot of enthusiasm, and she's coming at it from a different angle than Dave, which is always fresh eyes on the prize. So,
We never really took advantage of, like, you know, grants and such, even though, you know, like that Eversource woman.
Yeah,
You know, she's very willing, I think, to,
never went back again.
well, no, she or her counterpart or whoever's there now, I'm sure would be very, you know, accommodating if we hit them up for, oh, by the way, you know, Perlac is, you know, very active and impressive, you know, group, and it's, oh, okay, you know, just fill out this form and we'll give you like 500.
We don't like you, but
So,
Well,
Bill, the only
hey, it's
caveat
mutual.
of that is, I know folks with Fish and Game have been directly told, well, with Glenn Normando, you're not taking any funds from that because it adds bias. They
See,
will not, Eversource is millions for Fish and Game to wildlife and
Yeah.
fisheries, but Vermont does. So it's that, once you put your hand in, I mean, hey, I think we can do beneficial stuff with it, but that's also this.
Okay,
Loaded
well,
level at the top.
you got DES though, that's kind of like their pawn.
Then
Just,
you can buy stuff there, I guess.
And I don't mind taking money from them, and they're not gonna buy our opinion or whatever, you know, it's just,
Glad you're truthful. Solid.
no, well, no, I think we all assume that we, yeah, give us $500. What's that, a drop in the bucket? But we'll still go to, any kind of like hearing on Eversource BMPs.
And we are gonna do an advertisement for
They'll put their logo on.
No, you want to stand in front of
We'll send
that.
Kathleen to the
Yeah.
meeting. Concord.
But yeah, we should be able, maybe Paige can help us in that too. Just, give us like names to tap
Write
into.
yourself in for a small amount in that, and I think it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
The bank bought our equipment that we operated.
that's true. Yeah,
On rivers for a while, so they're another type.
Who did?
the bank. That was,
Bank,
no,
Meredith,
yeah,
Village.
savings.
Meredith Bank, a couple others.
When we're thinking about what we want Paige to do for this organization, I guess I'm just wondering what our goals are for one year. What do we expect other than coming to these meetings and reviewing permits and going out and doing some field reviews? What other goals, other than the corridor management plan? I'm just wondering what our goals are. Are we trying to really be more engaged with these towns? And is there a deliverable that we could use her to tap into to get money so that we could say, this is what we're trying to do?
Right, I think some of, I don't think we should just go, let's go get some money. I think we have to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
What do we need money for? And then go from there.
I don't know. I just want money.
I think we're at the stage now where we have to look at grants and say, how can we write in what we want to do to that
Mhm,
grant
mhm,
versus saying, this is what we're doing, let's pick and choose.
Yeah, I agree
So
with you.
I don't know what we can necessarily define what we want to do and then pick grants. Yeah, I think it's like, hey, this grant's up. What can we use it for?
And since we're only advisory, we really can't deliver that much like a conservation commission can do because they have statutory, authority to do certain things. We can just opine and put, ourselves out there as a voice, but we really can't do anything per se.
Well, but we can still do like, river cleanups.
Things like, yes.
Bring attention to
more
towns.
PR type things.
I
Yeah.
think we should do
than-
more outreach to the towns about our management plan, because I think they get it and they stick it in their filing cabinet.
I don't
and they-
think most towns even know we
Right,
exist. to be honest
exactly. I
with
think
you.
we need to do more outreach of either site visits
I mean, when
with
he
planning
was appointed-
commissions or more brochures or whatever to just remind them you've got this tool. They don't want to come hear us talk, but something that says, did you know that this covers this aspect of your town? Or something to remind them that we exist. And not because we need to know that we exist, but because we built this tool, we're editing this tool. We've got this money to clean up the management plan, but 95% of the towns probably don't remember that they put it in their filing cabinet.
So I was looking at some grant options last year. And the one that
I didn't even know.
would probably be the easiest would be the moose plate, which was about protecting drinking source water. And like planting these trees it absolutely does that around certain areas. And, so maybe Tyson's right. We could look at it from the angle of what's available and how can we potentially use that to benefit our watersheds.
And that's where Paige comes in, because she's more in tune with what grants are out there. And
Correct.
so she can keep us apprised of, here's these grants, and if we can keep in the back of our heads ideas of how we need funding to do things that we want to do, that we can do,
So
then we hear him. And I think that's where Paige is most valuable, is that she's got a source of looking at what grants are available. I don't have a source for know what grants are out there.
well, we can all Google it, but maybe we could have her, like once a quarter, come up with, potential grants that could be available. And then in our meetings, we could have a discussion about how could we benefit our towns and our rivers and our watersheds.
We'll just have her keep us apprised,
Yeah,
a list of ideas that we'd want to use grants for, and as she comes across them, maybe something will stick in her head that, But I think that's where she's the most valuable, is that she can advise
Bill,
us.
is that something we can ask her to do, Bill?
Yeah. Yes,
And so maybe she could present at the next meeting?
okay,
If you chat with her about that, can you also add ARM grants?
Oh, yeah.
Because the notice for whatever, input, it goes up February 1st. And grants are due at the end of May. But you can search by zone what grants were awarded. So we can look around this area and see what was awarded to who. Say it's Holderness School. We say, hey, how can we work with you on this? Or,
mhm,
and that's something where then Paige can take, be mentioning this to the next step and say, all right, I looked through who grants were awarded to in your area. This is who we can reach out to on a similar project. I think that would be where she'd be
I
helpful.
had that list. and I don't-
You can look it right up online. too,
Yeah,
every
I
year.
had the hard copy of
Oh,
that,
awesome.
but I hadn't, no.
Sorry, I tried finding it today. and couldn't
Yeah,
find it online.
it's in my bag of stuff.
So Tyson, when you send us out your one-page letter, why don't you send us a few links with some of the access to the grants?
Okay,
Just so we can do some background work before the next meeting.
I will be a little selfish and promote my grant first though. 'cause that's-
Understandable.
No, that's, and I think that's a great spot for Paige as well, because she can pull these out of the air, kind of like and then go that next step and identify stuff and. Yeah,
okay. Sounds good. All right, one other thing, is the, Casella Dalton deal. You sent it out December 3rd, the Plymouth Conservation Commission. And we kind of haven't heard much about it, and, they're going to build a landfill, what, like a half a mile away from,
The lake,
the lake.
I thought that was a mixed.
Apparently,
I thought it was too.
apparently it's not next, or they're still trying to like, I think they're on our board, agenda, the next select board agenda.
Where do we want to build the thing? I don't
Well,
remember.
it's up in
Dalton.
It's up in Dalton, and it's also, isn't it near a state park?
Yeah.
It's near-
Forest Lake,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, they've been trying to do this for, I guess a few years at least. And they're still citing the need, for another landfill when the one up north gets closed, and in reality, I mean, I don't know how much percentage wise is out of state waste, but
Most of it
Yeah.
is my understanding, yeah.
so I'm thinking we ought to, reopen the New Hampton dump, and, no, so we're gonna be hearing from Casella, people again. They came before our board probably like last year or something like that.
I think they
Did-
should consider having multiple landfills in southern New Hampshire.
Rochester is a wonderful one.
I thought the legislature voted
Yeah, I was
that
involved.
they couldn't build anything in proximity to state parks.
No, I don't think that bill went there. I don't think that bill succeeded.
I'll check that. I thought that.
So where is this?
Weren't they hearing a bill last week that was to delay the expansion or building of any landfills until they had updated the shoot, what's it called? Like the document that overviews like how we dispose of our waste essentially. I don't know why I'm blanking on this right now. Because that's what I thought was being heard. I don't know what the result of that was though.
I kind of imagine it's probably still like being considered for the fact that they're trying to work, towns, which they did come to our town specifically for Dalton, but now, and actually at the invitation of our, solid waste, head of our solid waste, who was also on the whatever waste board, statewide waste board or something like that. I think he's chair of it. I think, I'm looking at Neil because Neil's also on a select board, so, and knows the head of our waste management. Regardless, they're still trying to promote it. They're coming to our next board meeting and they're gonna state the fact that we're running out of like space to put waste and we have to build new transfer stations. Yeah,
Are
well,
these transfer stations or landfills?
No, this
I
is a
guess
landfill.
landfills, yeah.
It's all-
No, it's a repository.
So I talked to Jamie Colby last week from DES. She's the solid waste management person. Because, it was brought up to us, the concerns about the Casella landfill. And, and I asked her about, is there anything we can do so that we're not taking all of this out of state waste to fill up the landfill? Because there's probably more out of state going there than in state. And she said, well, that's complicated because they're not allowed to inhibit interstate commerce.
Oh,
That's like a federal thing. So they can impose like $1 extra per ton for out of state waste. So obviously that's not going to do anything. But, and I talked to her about, why don't we have more landfills? Why we're transporting at great distances. And I don't know where the town you live, your waste is going, but in Thornton and at the Thornton transfer station, it's all going to the Bethlehem Casella landfill. And the only other option is like, I think it's a large site in Rochester, which would mean increased costs and other impacts. It's NIMBY. It's not in my backyard, and so I mean, there's just a lot of other concerns before just to look at the whole thing. I mean, I wish we had a couple of options and we could shop around and we wouldn't have to transport it hours away to dispose of it. But she also talked about the solid waste capacity, because it really comes down to how much capacity do we have. She said that there's every 2 years they issue a report. The last one was 2019 about the solid waste capacity through 2034. And they're only regulated to project 20 years. So and I think they want to, I don't know exactly how much capacity they have, but I understand that they don't want to, well, they want to have options like every other business does. But anyways, she was very helpful. I can give you her email. She answered some questions I had. We talked for about 15 minutes. And, I mean, at some point, if you really want to dig deeper into this, that's a pretty good resource.
I'd be curious, how come a Vermont-based company, what is Vermont doing that's preventing them from keeping their own waste in Vermont?
They do, Casella has a huge.
They have a huge one in.
Well, it's not just Vermont. It's probably Massachusetts is probably shipping a lot more waste.
One's in the original one's in Brownington, I think.
It's a serious problem for Lake.
It's nasty, yeah. So I bet Newport, Vermont's probably closer than Rochester from there, but.
I guess I'm wondering why this is a perlite.
yeah, that was my big.
you raised it, actually. This is like
Oh,
December.
Sorry about that then.
I received an email from you. This is an FYI bill for you and your perlite capacity. Ultimately, it is like a concern of perlite, or every lac for that matter, just because it's generally going to be located near some water source, and it'd be good basically to start digging in because it's still persisting.
Well,
Anyway.
the bulk of this trash is coming up 93.
Yeah.
And there's, it could be spillage along the way. 93 weaves its way across the river all the way up through.
True. Anyway, want to keep that going because they're still percolating.
I assume the Connecticut watershed group knows about it, since it flows into the stream there flows into the Connecticut.
Okay.
So if you look at the map, there's a reservoir just northwest of Dalton.
Dalton, yes, it is.
And then it comes down and it flows right into the
I
Connecticut.
think it's more reservoir.
Yeah, more
Yeah,
more
more
conifer
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
It goes right into the Connecticut.
Yeah.
So
Sure
I'm
they-
hoping the Connecticut people are aware of this.
Probably not.
They're huge. I'm sure they're on the ball. They're 4 states in Canada.
Because they're the ones that are gonna be most impacted, because it's gonna be right in their face.
I think I was thinking of this in terms of our many discussions about zoning and protecting
Oh,
from landfill pollution.
hmm.
And if we don't put any kind of zoning regulations in our towns that would prevent something like this, then, you know, they could park up in any of the empty
Mhm.
farm
Yeah.
fields
True.
that then would impact the river
Yeah.
and our water supply.
Definitely.
Anyway,
So,
does anybody else have anything to bring up?
I'd just like to say that the Ashland Planning Board has on the warrant this year to put within our ordinance the emphasis, I shouldn't say the emphasis. We had two entities look about opening up campgrounds during the summer. And as ladies up in Campton and Thornton know, this became an issue. Instead of having the land use say that you have to follow RSA, geez, I can't remember the number now, 411 or something like that, that we're actually gonna have it within our website ordinances that every, Ashland must, is required to follow all state statutes on campgrounds, every letter of it.
Mhm.
So there you go, read that and then come to the planning board,
mhm.
not like the people did up in Campton and
Thornton.
Thornton,
Yeah.
thought they could come somehow
Go
make
where
it
they wanted to
happen.
go and find it happen.
It's just kind of a reference, and the issue we've always had, whenever we have these warrants, ordinances on the warrants, people seem to be very confused by them. What are we doing? And who made this up? So we just referenced the specific state statute that they have to follow, and not every single section of it.
The specific state RSA for campground.
Yeah,
Okay. I need to look at that. That would
I
be-
can't remember the number. It's 411, 611, talks about buffers, sanitation.
Oh, well, we have a property. I don't know whether it came up in conversation. Somebody has, it's a private home and they are posting it as a sort of,
Well, this is, we wanted to get ahead of this, that somebody could put 3 yurts out on their 5 acres, so there's now a minimum size, they have to follow the state law.
and they posted on Facebook. And it's called Slumberland. It's right at the
Oh, my
bottom of my,
God, yeah.
it's right at the bottom of my head.
Yeah.
And various other things have gone on there too. And there's been a police intervention, and it's been forwarded on to DES. So we may end up,
And because we have the PEMI and SWAM overlay, that also protects anything within, they cannot build within that overlay, no campgrounds at all.
well, there are campers and RVs that are right down at the water's edge and nobody's sure how they got down there.
Yeah,
And there's no sanitation.
So this
and
is our
unlike-
first step, hoping to be a little more proactive and user-friendly for the people who ask for, do it, then come and ask for forgiveness afterwards. And,
So what is it that you guys are doing? It's
well, yeah, we have to
proactive?
put it on the warrant article as, do you, what's the wording? Do you, are you in favor of, I should have brought it with me. Are you in favor of?
Now, do you have to do a public hearing for this?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
we're having a second one tomorrow night, because we changed it.
I'm missing one tonight.
We changed a sentence.
So you need to adopt the RSA?
We're not adopting.
You're
it.
creating an ordinance.
We're creating it within the town ordinance. It
Yeah.
is already a state ordinance, but now everybody
We're
will be,
saying
in-
the town has to
You're
the
establishing
town
ordinance and
becomes
and you're
the
referring to the
enforcer,
state ordinance
Yeah.
as the
Town is
guideline.
As
gonna
the guideline,
abide by
yes.
the rules of the state.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be my next thing to stick in.
The
the
town is
planning
adopting the
boards.
rules of the state.
Could you send the
We're-
language of that out to
Yeah,
the
I'm-
group?
Meeting tomorrow, the public hearing tomorrow. Well, you can go with the town website and then the planning board and see the language.
We've got a couple of,
It's on the agenda, it's on the agenda. Go to
Warrant.
the calendar, click planning board and bring up the agenda and I'll have the language.
we've got a couple of things that we're trying to add into the ordinances in Camden. And actually, there are a couple of things that we've used Ashland as, you know,
Model.
I
a
mean,
model.
there's only 4 of us, so we have to,
Well, I'm an alternate right now and I'm ready to shoot myself.
we actually had to make the secretary, the minute taker as a member, so we could have a quorum.
Okay.
But, yeah, some very strange requests came over the summer for different things that people thought they might like to do. The tiny houses.
Oh,
Can I
well,
have a tiny
see,
house?
okay, part of it, we've just, this is establishing an ordinance having to do with accessory dwellings.
Yeah.
Specifications don't exist. And also the definition of, you know, tiny dwellings and
No,
specifications.
we did ADUs last year and home businesses the year before.
Yeah, so, because there's nothing there, and somebody
Oh, wow.
came in. And because there's nothing, you know, we could not deny him because there's nothing on the books. Which precipitated the whole conversation, but, you know, if you want to protect yourself, they don't seem to grasp that.
This is a punitive. This is to protect you.
Well, in the fact that we exist in a new world now, that all the small towns that exist on the 93 corridor
Mhm.
have become incredibly vulnerable
Mhm.
to a whole different world based on what happened during COVID and and it's going the same thing. Well, you can't tell anybody in Hampton that there is climate,
Refugees.
there's going to be climate refugees, but some of us realize that that's part of what is happening.
So like in Ashland, we have the Squam River, we have the Penny River,
Oh,
we have Owl Brook, we have Little Squam. So basically the town is a bowl surrounded by hills, steep slopes, with with the watersheds all running into downtown Ashland and then out to the Pemmy. And without a conservation commission, we've had to be more proactive in the oversight of what people are.
I would like to see Campton's be more like yours. I mean, when looking at Ashland's, you know, the overlay and the setbacks and steep slope, I just don't see that kind of, considering the watershed that Campton has as it feeds into the Pemmy. That's huge.
And we were very lucky that there was somebody proactive about 20 years ago that set that overlay in place, or we'd probably be struggling now.
What's the overlay you're talking about?
The Pemmy River overlay and the Swan River overlay, that anything within 250 feet cannot be developed.
Great.
Did you get your new flood zone maps?
My new what? Blood
Did you get
cell?
your new flood zone maps?
No.
Oh, riveting, it's just. Yeah,
Hey,
when you
couple,
get your maps, it's just these blue lines, it's like, so now you can't, okay. All right, you get a general idea, but now you're gonna have to figure how far in it goes and.
just a couple quick things. I think we have to like, I don't know if Contra can see this.
Oh,
This
is that
is-
that piece of junk up on Thornton that we
Yeah.
went to?
Yeah.
Don't even, I drive by it every time and. like,
We looked
Yeah.
at, we looked at the site. In fact, I was looking at the, you can't see it on this picture, but they put the, you know, leach field
It's in the
in
right,
the area
town
that,
right
that-
away.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's there. And it's like, you know, within 6 feet of that 30-foot drop off.
Yep.
Oh, this is off that Remington Road.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yep.
Was there well right next to it?
And they're going to
But-
have some
I
sort
use
of.
that as a site to take my hazard class to.
And there is a proposed thing for their shed garage that sits right on the drop off. I'm
And the
thinking-
riverbank is unstable.
Yeah.
planted?
They did.
Centuries ago. I'm not touching that one.
The whole
I'm not
house
touching
would
that.
be.
I gotta go to the
Oh,
the
man.
campground before that.
So they were,
Trade on the rescuable ones.
Yeah.
Can I see that picture again?
Myrtle, we went there.
I know, we just,
Same time last year.
you can see that, right?
I think the soils are
You
loose.
can,
Yep.
you can see it clearly when you're just driving on Route 3.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm sure they really appreciate that.
It's scenic route back from the
They wanted their little,
solid waste and transfer station. Every time I look at it, I go, oh.
Is this
remote
their-
house
is
in
this
New
their
Hampshire.
little country home that they-
yeah, in
That
downstate. or whatever.
Sanborn earthquake didn't hit a little, the one lasted a little bit further up north and just shoved that thing off the bank.
It is amazing what people think they can do because it's New Hampshire.
Well,
Well, and also there's no,
And if you don't have to. be-
no zoning or anything like that too,
Yeah,
so.
and that's, yes.
Yeah.
This beautiful piece of property in Bridgewater just sold, and the guy bought from Massachusetts, bought it, he's gonna divide it up into multiple house lots. Goes right to the penny.
So lastly, I'd like to resign from, not resign, I'd like to, no longer be chair. And well, this one's, this one's gonna stick.
This one's gonna stick, right?
Is this
Yeah.
because you're gonna try to do something else again?
I'm already doing something else, and now I'm gonna do something else even
Well, that's
further,
what I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Running again?
Yeah, I'm definitely running again, but
Oh,
it just this is for the State House, so
Did you
it's like,
sign up yet?
Oh,
for the
just
State House or
state
for town?
No,
Casual.
for town.
Yes.
So I called Josie, I'm also gonna run again for the select board. There's only one other person that is signed up for it, and that's that guy right there.
Are you gonna run against each other?
No,
No.
We have two
Are you the
people.
chair?
Oh,
I am,
and-
yeah.
And nobody
Bill and
else?
I, we started together.
You have a life besides chairing things?
I don't know.
so yeah, it's kind of ludicrous to keep on being chairs of things, so I'm gonna give up this chair. And
I'll give you my chair.
so elections are in April. And that's, I'll get Paige active on that, actually.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
And so if someone could actually vocalize right now if they want to, take a whack at it, or just send me an email. Or I'll pick somebody.
wait, since Russ isn't here, can we nominate him?
I think he might show up like more infrequent than Paige, so.
We need a chair and a vice chair and
I told Vic
Wait, wait,
that.
can't we just promote the secretary? Huh?
We have a vice chair too, actually.
yeah, we need a.
Who's
chair.
our vice chair?
She's speaking right now, but now she's not.
Scribe.
John Gallagher was the vice chair, was he not?
He was.
Yeah.
He's not. I'm the
Did you
vice
take
chair.
it?
at the
Oh, you
moment.
did?
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah, I'm the vice chair at the moment.
she's a legacy.
Hard to
Oh,
tell.
that's good.
Ah.
Well, I think that bumps you immediately into the upper.
Echelon.
Yes,
Upper-
echelon
upper
of,
spot.
Escalator.
And then we just
I had
need a
said
vice
I was
chair.
gonna do it at some point. I didn't know it was gonna be tonight.
Well, it's not tonight, yeah, April.
Judy, put
3
it on your
months.
resume.
So,
April.
yeah, I mean,
April.
unless if somebody really wants to step up, I'm happy to stay vice chair. But I will do it if nobody else wants to do it.
Oh, should we nominate her
I'll
now?
second that motion.
Yeah.
Wait, are we nominating as vice chair or as chair?
Chair.
Yeah.
But we're not having elections till April, right?
Right.
Right.
Well, we can
So-
get it done right now.
You have to do that, don't you have to wait till it's time for the election?
I make a
Anyway.
motion to nominate Judy to be
Yeah.
president.
Second.
President.
Oh,
Cool.
second.
No, I'm getting up in stature president this time.
Any discussion? If none, what do we do next, Bill?
We're still gonna have to wait until April.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone's here.
It doesn't matter.
No, it's the majority.
See, for the rest of us,
We have a quorum,
not
yeah.
here.
But somebody needs to think about if they want to be a vice
Yeah.
chair. I have to do this all by myself. And maybe I can use
Right here, someone.
February and March as practice. Like, what address. I assume all this crap that you get in the mail comes to your home address, so you're gonna have to change addresses and
Gladly.
give me access to all
He'd be more
these.
than happy probably to do that.
So anyway, there's gotta be a little bit of a transition.
Yep.
But somebody should think about, and does she really want to stay the scribe? She's an excellent scribe, but does she really want to do it again? I've been a scribe, so I know how awful it is. So we need volunteers for those two positions too.
Yep, and then there's also the position of treasurer. And Dave said, well, that's me. I
Right.
said, okay. I mean, what's that?
Well, but Dave is, which
Dave,
Dave?
Dave Jeffers.
Jeffers,
He's gone?
but he's not.
He's kind of gone. Yeah,
LRPC has been doing all of our accounting for us, and the
Yeah.
question is, do we want our own accountant? Or do we take LRPC's word for it? And I don't think we have any choice.
we have a choice and several LACs don't have their, commissions, do the accounting. And they do it themselves. But then someone's gonna have to do that, and that might be a little messy. You have to receive, have a receipt account, we have to have a bank account, we have to hit up the towns that don't cough up the monies, so it
And
might,
just- You use your home address for mailings. We don't need a PO box for that kind of thing.
right,
Okay. To make it an official PERLAC address.
no, it's just an official, they have to sign it.
I'm
So-
also Secretary Treasurer of the Hysterical Society, and so I get all the mail to my address to the Hysterical Society. So,
I would consider being the secretary if Lisa was going to accept a different position.
I would be willing to do the treasurer role if somebody else would be the secretary.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but I mean, we can all think about it and discuss it in the next 2 months and figure it out.
we should have a list for the March meeting of the nominees.
Yeah,
So people can thinking about their votes by the time April comes around. So it's not a surprise, including those that are being nominated. By the way, Barry.
Not gonna happen.
You are now officially the.
Well, maybe he'd do it if we changed the title, if it was Commodore and he could be Vice Commodore.
There you go.
Just keep in mind that the treasury job, we've overrun with LRPC
You know,
for quite a few years.
yeah,
it might behoove
That'll
us to
come to
keep
an
that.
end if we own it.
I don't think we want to own it.
No.
We want them
They're,
to
if they're good
accept
at
monies.
creative, okay, let it be on them.
We can discuss that.
Yeah, but they charge us for doing it.
Yep.
That would be the difference.
Yeah.
they-
Right.
It's all part of their, we're always in the hole.
And I already do all the finances of the Historical Society and the taxes of the Historical Society, and I already do the Old Home Day. And I already do the, anyway, I don't need one more accountant, especially if I want to do this thing.
Understand.
You need a motion
Yeah,
to adjourn?
yes,
Okay, so
Second.
move.
Second.
okay.
Oh, and then-
Moved and seconded.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Then we need a party committee for Bill's end of being a chair party.
I don't think we had a party when Max stepped
So-
down.
He has a ride service after the
Maybe,
party, right?
maybe, yeah, maybe the April meeting-
We'd all get
the
loaded.
April meeting should be back in the bar somewhere.
Yeah.
So that we-
Oh, you could hit the stop, save recording part now.
Oh. See you guys. We're adjourned. Ha.